Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hiya.
everyone. Welcome to the Dutch Sci-Fi and Fantasy channel. We discuss today the companions of the Fifth Doctor. We
That's
had
good.
an earlier time we had a series about the Doctor himself, and we discussed the Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison. Today we talk more and stress more the focus on the companions of the Fifth Doctor. And it is a funny thing to say that in the last special of Doctor Who, could see much older Peter Davison with some companion, and so this is very good to discuss today. This topic about the companions of the Fifth Doctor. As a Doctor, I characterize him that he is one of the doctors, in my opinion, that he is really a team player. I've mentioned that in the stream in the personality of the Fifth Doctor. That it was we were discussing about that, and one of my things I saw in him is that he is really a team player. Because he's, in my opinion, one of the doctors who is most humane, or we call that, less an alien than and more of a human.
Yeah,
Um,
he wasn't as much of a distance, was he, from his
yeah,
companions
that's right.
compared to other doctors?
Yeah. So, like
Went
his
too
first
geeky.
like his first two incarnations, the Doctor often traveled with multiple companions, and one of them is Tegan, and we saw her also on the last special.
Indeed.
So the relation between the Doctor and Tegan, that was also a very nice one, and we
Very
can talk
prickly.
about it now. Yeah. But there were some conflicts in the beginning with the Doctor and the Tegan, and during the whole travels with the Doctor, there was some tension, some pessimism.
Yeah, it was sort of, she wanted to constantly just go home, didn't she?
Yeah,
And he just
constantly.
wouldn't manage to get her back at the right
Yes.
time, spot, or location.
And that was one of the red threats in the for Red Reliance, or no, how you call it, in the whole travels with the Doctor. She was very skeptical about indeed about bringing her back to Earth. What we know about her is that she is stewardess, that she has an aunt.
It was how she gets into the TARDIS. Basically, she's auditioned. Like she's really determined for getting this role of air hostess, and she drives with her aunt to. I think they have to head to Heathrow Airport, and on the way they catch a flat, and they have to stop off. Now there's a conflict here because Tegan wants to. I think Aunt Lavinia kind of trusts that she can just have the car fixed by some passerby, and Tegan's like, "No, you're going to get ripped off." She's very kind of cynical.
Yeah.
And now it just happens that on the motorway, the TARDIS has landed, and so Tegan enters, and she finds herself, expected to be able to make a phone call, and she finds herself lost in the maze of the TARDIS, whilst Aunt Lavina encounters the Master, and the Master he's very trigger happy at that point, and he just basically shrinks her, and so it's a kind of a quite a harrowing ordeal for Tegan, and she ends up the Doctor doesn't even realize she's on board when he takes off and flies to Logopolis.
Yep.
So and she's kind of really, from that point on, she's like, just get me home, and she's very demanding about it. She's very, I mean, it's quite a hysterical, quite a kind of a fraught situation for her. And you see her in situations like that, she does get very hysterical, very, very angry, very belligerent.
Yeah. She was also witness of the regeneration, by the way, because the Fourth Doctor. Yeah, that's right. It's good that you mentioned that, because she was witness of the regeneration of the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, and she was initially an unwilling companion to the Fifth Doctor, and she didn't want to travel alongside. But yeah, after a while, she was more and more familiar with it. It was more
Yeah.
how
Well,
do
see
you call
what
it?
yeah, see what happens
Yeah.
is he eventually does get her home at the end of season 19, and
Mm-hmm.
then he takes off, and she's kind of quite slow to reach the TARDIS. So the TARDIS basically takes off without her. So at the end of that season, she's actually quite tear struck. She's like, "Well, I thought I was going to travel with the Doctor still." So it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
she got what she wanted, but she missed the traveling.
Yeah.
And so the next season, I think she loses her job of hostess, and
Yeah.
she meets the Doctor again, and then I think it's mainly she misses Nissa. That's the main thing she misses is Nissa. So she really kind of wants to be part of that. But because they've been through a lot together, I think she's bonded with Nissa.
Yeah.
Didn't so much with Adric, but he's dead, so never mind. But yeah, that's kind of so.
I think with Tegan, she sort of the Doctor grew on her, but she'd never
Mhm.
say that out loud. And
Yeah.
she sort of,
Yes.
I think she quite liked his gentleman ways, and she quite liked how he was a little bit softer spoken than her, and she sort of liked that sort of contrast almost.
Yeah.
But then but I think there was you could tell her and Nissa were quite close when it comes to companion teams. So yeah, that also factored into it.
That's right. In one of the stories in Black Orchid, we see Tegan is really enjoying that time, and she's dancing to Charleston. That's one of the episodes I think Tegan was more relaxed, and we see another side of her. That was one of the things I was when I thought about Tegan, I thought about that episode in particularly. Because there she's more relaxed and she does more, she has more fun at that time.
It's a chance to see her let her hair down a bit.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we've not seen that all season. All season she's been very, very uptight, very highly strung.
Yeah.
So I think I have a theory of what happened was that the writers the season 18 ended on Legopolis, and so a lot of the writers were thinking, well, who is Tegan? And then they watched Legopolis, where she's in this panicked situation. It makes sense that she's quite hysterical. And I think, unfortunately, they kind of use that as her default. I sometimes feel, to a degree, they kind of emphasize the traits rather than the core of Tegan a lot of the time. Like, she became traits more than core in season 19.
Yeah, it sort of it almost came across that she was just there to criticize the Doctor, and you should never feel like that's the pure purpose of a companion. Like, I think that's what people misunderstood. It's like, yes, companions at times need to have the Doctor in check, and they need to sort of be that prevailing voice. But if that's a constant, it almost loses the power of when a companion does sort of stand up and go, no, actually, you're wrong. But with Tegan, it was a bit of a constant, so you sort of just became like white noise. It's like, oh, she's moaning again.
Yeah. I think John Nathan Turner said that what he wanted was a kind of he felt like usually when the TARDIS landed somewhere and the Doctor and companion said, "Oh, let's go out and explore." He said he kind of wanted to change that, so they'd land somewhere, they'd have an argument, usually with Tegan getting really upset about something, and she'd storm out, and that was kind of a bit more of an emotional hook to moving the action from inside to outside the TARDIS. So it was almost like he felt like the audience would follow it emotionally from internal to outside, and get involved in the plot that way. Like obviously in The Visitation, where the Doctor lands Tegan at home, but it's like several centuries too early, and she and she storms out the TARDIS and has that cooling off, and they have that apology outside. So it's that kind of moves the action from inside to outside, but it's kind of the idea that this will maybe get the audience emotionally involved in going outside.
Yeah. But after some traveling with the Doctor, Tegan confessed to Edric that she had begun to enjoy traveling in the TARDIS. So there's some development, there's some progression in that. Yeah. We can go to Edric.
Boo.
Nice bridge.
Sudoku loves Adric.
Yeah, I know. Edric was antagonistic or more challenger to the Doctor, more like sort of arrogance. But you can also see that that after a while they work quite well together. Because he is very in some situations in the stories, Edric is of great benefit to the team TARDIS.
There are some stories where the Doctor and Adric kind of do work quite well as a team. Like there's moments in Earthshock and in Keeper of Track where they have to do the technical stuff together, the practical technical stuff. The Adric works well as the Doctor's assistant when he's being cooperative and not being bratty.
That is the reason. One of the reasons I think the combination with and in this case, this is a good example of that every companion with the Fifth Doctor is really adds to it. Not a fifth wheel, but really adds to it. That the companion is very good used.
You could tell that the producers really wanted to have companions with very different backstories. In this era, like we sort of obviously Tegan current day, sort of the loudness, but she's sort of your typical current day companion. And then with Nyssa, you obviously had the alien factor and the almost princess factor about her. And then with Adric, it was boy genius, sort of uber intelligent. And then with Turlo, it was very different again. So you could almost feel like they really wanted to push what a companion backstory could be, and like how they could interact and come into the story.
Charlotte, I mean, how would you say that Tegan was like Rose in some ways in terms of being the modern, bit more kind of could be quite bitchy, quite feisty companion?
See, I would say Rose was better rounded because, like with Rose, you sort of got like she hated her current life, and she saw the adventure, and like you've got a bit of that with Tegan. But I just think with Tegan, they just, like you said, they had that one trait, and they just hammered it too much. And it's like, I've said this before, I adore Ian and Barbara, and they were quite like argumentative and a bit fractious when they met the first Doctor. But you saw that gradual sort of build up of trust and mellowing. Whereas with Tegan, it was just like there wasn't that mellowing until really her last episode. I felt whenever I've watched it, it's like she's just that constant voice. And it's like, you just need to show a bit more different sides to you. Whereas Rose, like I said, I think you saw the youngness, you saw the naivety, then you saw the bravery and the romance near the end. Like you saw quite a bit different sides to her.
Edward was also a witness of the regeneration of the Fourth Doctor, so he's also a companion of the Fourth Doctor. And one thing good to mention is that he is civil or person out of E-Space.
Yeah, it's E-Space is this pocket universe. It's like small little bubble universe that they go into, and it's I forgot. It's the episode Full Circle. That's where the Doctor meets Adric, and he's part of a group of kind of youthful kind of rascals. And Adric has a brother called Varsh, and his brother dies in a fight with the Marshmen, and Adric stows aboard, and in the end he kind of he goes with the Doctor into the new universe, our universe rather. And he is basically in Castrovalva. He's probably the one who's probably most familiar with the Doctor, and he kind of almost becomes his almost becomes like his. It looks like he'd almost become his perfect confidant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Of the three companions.
He also was earlier in the story with for Doctor and Romana, the second Romana and Key 9. So he was the companion who knew the Doctor the longest.
Yeah, I do think it does come across like he struggles with that kind of new environment. He doesn't like. He seems to like Nyssa, but then he doesn't like Tegan, and because he's because Nyssa likes Tegan more, Nyssa starts to kind of find him obnoxious as well, because he's always being really. I mean, he could be quite mean spirited a lot of times in Nyssa. To Tegan, I mean, and you know.
I think a lot of that though was just because he came across as such a young boy, almost like he not a teenager yet, but old enough to be intelligent and to be cocky.
Yeah,
but not like I said. I think Matthew Waterhouse, that's the actor, isn't it?
He is.
Yeah.
He just looks so baby faced. So when he's trying to like stand there giving his little "I'm intelligent," you sort of go, "Oh."
I think the idea was from the producers to have some dat how could I call it, identification or
kind of give the younger boy watchers the kind of identification figure.
Yeah, yes. I thought that was one of the reasons that they asked Matthew to do this role.
Yeah, I think I've heard the term like he's audience standing. Mm-hmm. He's sort of there to be, like you said, the young boys. But I just think, God love him, he wasn't good. He hadn't done enough acting, and he just wasn't old enough.
Yeah, that's right.
To pull off what they were giving him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice idea, but it was not worked out very well. I think was not ready for it. After can conclude that, I think.
Do you think in the end they just gave up and decided, let's just kill him off?
Yeah, it's because the most YouTubers who talk about Edric are not so very. It's not the most favorite companion of the fans. Let me say this so. Yeah. Not the most favorite, but I can understand that. Okay,
like I said,
but within the whole, I think for the team, it was a very good ad. In say he held the Doctor really well, but his acting was a little bit. But for the whole dynamic, it was just good. Yeah, I think.
There are stories where he works as part of the team, like the Visitation.
Yeah, he's a good team player.
Yeah,
that's what I only want to stress. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Edric was also just awarded. It was very clever. He was the Star of Mathematical Excellence.
Yeah,
and that is the reason why he's he's very good use for the Doctor. He had it on his pen. He had a brother. He was on some sort of clan or something, I think.
Yeah, that was he was part of the young gang, and his brother Barsh is in it.
Yeah, and we all know what happened in the end with Edric.
Yeah, he
So it's not to spoil anything, but for the whole it's very important to tell what happened to him.
Yeah, it was a shock moment at the time, but obviously everyone knows it now that Edric's one of the companions who didn't make it. Like he didn't get a happy ending. He was he died. It wasn't really even a self-sacrifice so much. It was he stayed behind on the freighter because he thought the freighter was going to crash into Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The Cybermen had set the freighter to crash into Earth to destroy the planet, decimate the planet.
Yeah.
The freighter ends up being sent back in time to the time of the dinosaurs, so it ends up kind of coinciding with established history where, something hit the Earth, caused the dinosaurs to become extinct, and the human race to kind of usurp them. And so Adric's still trying to break the code because he still thinks that Earth is doomed and he has to save the planet. But before he even gets to the console explodes. The Cyberman basically shoots the console. So he says I'll never even know if I was right. And it's kind of that's his final words. Is almost a poignant. That's it for me, And then obviously, he crashes, and as he's crashing, he's holding his brother Vash's what is it? It's
a star, isn't it?
No, it's a particular almost like this towel or this tourniquet or something that belonged to his brother. It's this kind of particular cloth, and he's holding it as he's about to crash. It's the Doctor was given his star. He passes the star on to the Doctor, and the Doctor used the gold tip of the star to take out the Cyber Leader. But Adric was still on the ship and he still had the what was it? But obviously, kind of just faces his end.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that they were trying to go for this really tragic, couldn't you? Sort of ending point of a story.
Yeah.
And the sort of reaction when it happens on the TARDIS is very sort of almost out of place for the show. It's sort of they're all quiet and don't really say anything, do they?
No, it's this disbelief. It's kind of Tegan's like, oh, can't you do anything, Doctor? And he can't say anything. So they kind of both. I think Eric Soder said he wrote it as a kind of a tragedy of folly. Like Adric does it's Adric's folly, his arrogance, the kind of, and he never quite gets it right. So it's almost like it's a tragedy of folly, almost.
Yeah. And Adric is also mentioned in the last special of Doctor Who when we see Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, and Tegan talk to each other, and the reference to Adric. Also,
well, there's also a Big Finish, a really famous Big Finish spare parts, which obviously is dealing with the Cybermen, and I don't think it's expressed how long since Adric's death, but it's relatively soon. I mean, near, because Nyssa basically at one point of that story says, "How come you've not spoke about it? Like, how come you've not done anything really about it?" And the Doctor sort of says, like, I just can't. Like, I can't deal with that. And and it's sort of this idea of they're both just, it's this trauma that they're sort of both put into the back of their heads.
Yeah.
I think in that story, the point, the real kind of the conflict is that Nyssa, like, she's on Mondas before the Cybermen became the Cybermen. And she has a chance to prevent that, and if she prevents that, then she feels maybe it'll save the people on Mondas, and it'll also save Adric in the future. It'll mean that Adric never had to die. And the Doctor's like, well, we can't change history. We can't change. Adric's gone. We can't undo that. And it's like obviously she wishes, and Tegan even in Time Flight, she says the same thing. Can't we go back and save him? And he's like, no. And he actually does firmly say, never ask me to do that again, because I just can't. It's I can't break the rules.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that it just sort of showed that did have a really big impact.
Yeah.
For both Davidson's Doctor and the companions, because it's referenced, like I said, in the special, and there's a big thing in Big Finish with spare parts. So at least in expanded stuff, it has sort of carried on doing creative beats and helped sort of the Fifth Doctor develop a bit, and Tegan and Nyssa and everybody.
Yeah. There were also some theories about that Adric did not die, but that there is a sort of alternate time thing. Have you heard of the Celestial Intervention Agency?
I know who they are. They're on Gallifrey. They're this group of like meddlers, aren't they?
Yeah, they took Edric out at last moment out of that ship and used them for their own purpose.
So, which was this in? Which was it in one of the audios?
Yeah. Do you know the process cyber files?
The what?
You've got the cyber files novel.
Oh, it's a book. Okay.
Yeah, out of a book. And then it was being rescued at the last minute by the Tremas master, and then he used him. But there's another theory that he died, but that he came to the nether sphere where he becomes to become a Cyberman. Also, that is why it explains a little bit about the 12th Doctor in Dead in Heaven with Danny Pink. That the nether sphere that Edric was one of the Cybermen.
Oh, that's a bit of a fan theory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not for us on screen. We see Edric die, but you can always escape this story that he's still alive, but he is now a Cyberman, or that he is now working for another.
It just sort of shows that, like, just as fans, we don't deal well with deaths, even if we don't particularly like the character.
That's the point. You can always go. You can always escape, or you can always undo canon in Doctor Who or something, or you can change canon. But we see now also that it's good to have the canon. We see that on screen, and you see also that canon. It is important, but Doctor Who has a story with canon that, some people say this is canon, this is not canon. We leave that for another time. But what very important is that we see the heritage of the Doctor, the whole thing, what we are familiar with, and what always worked. That's important for Doctor Who, and that we can see really the Doctor in an actor, in a person. That's very important, that we continue to see that the Doctor is the person who saves the Earth, who saves people, who has compassion for people, and that the Doctor is that he is a Time Lord, and that he travels in time and space.
He can't save everyone. Like he wins some, loses some. Like he's not.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of his victories count because he doesn't always win, but he tries to make the victories count. So it's like Adric dies, but Earth is saved, and those trade-offs kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm talking of fan theories. I've always thought as well, like, it's been established that traveling with the Doctor means you sort of have temporal energy and you're a bit different just physically. So saving somebody with that would probably cause more complications anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're quite a complex event just being a companion.
Yeah. The Doctor can see in time and space, so he can see it's a little bit complicated. There's some paradox, because on one hand the Doctor can see in time and space, he can see the results of actions. On the other hand, he can some things he can undo, or can do, or will not do. In the case of Edric, I don't know. I think that the Doctor knew that Edric in some way that he knew that Edric was going to die, but another that he can do that he doesn't nothing can do about it. But the other hand, that's a little bit paradoxical. Can you understand that? Or because I think Doctor is a master of time and space, and he can see things in the future.
No, he's not the master. He's kind of he does what he can. Like he's not all powerful. Like I think, like he understands the rules of time and space. He
Yeah.
does what he can within that, but he's not its master, I would say.
Yeah,
Like,
he's sort of he's in the moment, and
Mhm.
obviously he knows history from before.
Yeah.
But in his adventures, he doesn't know what the ending point is.
Okay.
If that makes he knows a lot because he's a Time Lord, but in that adventure, he doesn't have a clue how it's going to end up.
Okay. Yeah.
Or then he would just win everything, wouldn't he? Would you think?
Oh, by the way, I found the information on that. What Enigmatic Joker, you were talking about the cyber files. It was the cyber files. It was Doctor Who. It was almost like a role playing. Oh, it was a tie into this role playing game from the 1986. And let's see, it involved the Cybermen, yes. And I think I believe it basically was that I get the sense that the point of it was that Adric was a player you could use, and the idea was that the Celestial Intervention Agency had had kind of recruited Adric to play the game, shall we say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was him. So, yeah, this is one of the tragic deaths of one of the companions of the Doctor. It was in that time was just a shock for the fans to see that for the first time so intensely.
Oh, hi Kip in the chat.
Hello. We go to the next one. Also, a very interesting. That is Turlo.
Well, we skipped Nissa. Sorry.
I was going to say Nissa.
Yeah. Okay, but I will do that for the next one. But I want Turlo first.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, Turlo.
I think Turlo was a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
Like, let's have a companion that's basically going to kill the Doctor. I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also very interesting, and you can see him struggling during the travels with the Doctor. But on one hand, he has a purpose, he has a task to do, because the Guardian, the Black Guardian, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives him
gives him a mission.
A mission to kill the Doctor. Every time there are some things that he is not doing that because his conscience is speaking to him.
Yeah, it's like I think the Black Guardian is very, very powerful, and so like you can see this in Morden Undead when Morden's kind of recovering in the sickbed, and like he's talking to what he thinks is the headmaster, and he believes that the headmaster. He's basically confessing to the headmaster, I've been given this contract by the Black Guardian. I feel like I can't fulfill it. Like I don't think I can kill this guy. And then the headmaster the first understands. Then he turns around. Then he morphs into the Black Guardian, and Tiller realizes he's trapped. So it's almost like the Black Guardian is literally in his head. So he feels like he's kind of compelled to do this because he's got he doesn't have any freedom in this.
Yeah, he's sort of like a mouse in a trap, isn't he?
Indeed, yeah.
And he's just sort of like, I've sort of got into this situation, I don't know how to get out.
Yeah. Like, you get the sense he can be quite cunning, but like it's almost like in this instance, his cunning is exhausted, isn't it?
Always, like you said, he's just such a powerful person he's up against. How do you out-cun somebody that powerful?
Yeah. And I have to say, there is a great bit in Enlightenment when Turtle is offered the prize of Enlightenment, and he basically, you can just see like his face turn to rage, and he's just like, you know what, I've had it with being bullied by the Black Guardian. He takes his revenge, he just kind of chucks the thing at him, and Black Guardian kind of evaporates into flames. And you can see it was a great kind of, the underdog coming up and taking his revenge kind of thing.
Yeah. What we know about Turlo, we see him the first time when we see him on Earth, on a school. But we then discover later on that he is from another world, Trian. And
he can be very capricious and cowardly, very cavalier. Like he's probably the very few companions I think have been as cavalier as Turlo have there.
Yeah, he'll always have a go, won't he?
Yeah.
Like he reminds me a bit of Jamie, but not quite.
Yeah.
Because said like Jamie was a lot more braver, whereas Turlo, he'll go and try and be the hero, but then he'll very quickly back off, or he'll very quickly be like, "Yeah, this isn't working out. I'm going to save myself."
Yeah.
So I think he likes to think of himself as the hero more, doesn't he, Turlo?
Yeah.
Maybe
He wants to prove himself.
Yeah, he likes to prove that he's sort of this like you said, this heroic figure. When it's like, no.
I'm not sure. I think it's the opposite with Turlo. I think it's like he views people who try to be heroic as fools. It's like, why are you trying to be heroic? It's a futile gesture. Like he does say, what is about people who makes him think that a futile gesture is a noble one. So it's almost like I think he kind of disdains people who have a hero complex, and he thinks everyone around him in the show has one. So he's kind of, look, I'm just out to save my own skin. That's the best way to get out of these things alive. You should all be like me more. He's, maybe he's a bit of a Rick Sanchez almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Almost what they were trying to do with Tegan, they did just better with Turlo.
Yeah.
Like I said, to be that sort of at points, sort of realistic voice.
Yeah.
But he doesn't come across as like Tegan did at times when it's just you're just nagging. Like with Turlo, it comes across a bit more just no, he's just trying to get everybody out, or he's trying to just save his own skin.
Yeah. Kip says, I like good old Whistler Turlo. He could operate the TARDIS a bit too. That's right. I think Turlo is also one of the most call it selfish companions of all. At some point, and was quick to shield himself from blame. And he's also got some conflicts with Tegan.
It's like there are moments.
Tegan was a little bit suspicious. She was a little bit suspicious, or
there are moments in Terminus where he's like been sabotaging the ship, and she catches like a kind of loose roundel around him, and he just got this look like he's a baby caught or something kind of thing.
I think honestly those two clash so much because they would, like I said, they were both quite abrasive personalities when it suited them. So when you've got two people like that in one space, you're gonna just have conflict. You're gonna have arguments. And poor Davidson's doctor was sort of almost at times the mediator, and just to sort of break it up a bit.
Yeah. It was more. Yeah.
I think the scene that best captures the Turlo is probably in Resurrection of the Daleks, though, when the ship's been besieged by the Daleks, and he's teamed up with one of the crew of the space station called Mercer, like the prison station that Davros has been kept on. And obviously the Daleks have invaded. They've so broken away from his kind of group of other survivors, and Turlo's saying, leave your friend to the fate. Just go for Davros. If you try to save him, you're gonna try to save your friends. You're gonna lose. If you go for Davros, you might win. So it's like he's basically kind of, again, it's that ruthless. Just you got to be cold to win this, to survive this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he is very much advocating a course of action the Doctor wouldn't, kind of thing.
Yeah. But we already discussed that Turlo found himself unable to murder the Doctor for his freedom. And he frequently asked during the travels, he frequently asked the Black Guardian to reconsider his order to kill the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because he was really struggling. And you also you can see the growing loyalty to the Doctor. And that's
think-
very interesting to see that. You can see the conflict inside him, the struggle he has with it. Because he knows already that the doctor is on the good side. And the Black Guardian is asking him to kill him. This is not a good thing to do. To kill the doctor.
I did write this in a review once. There's a scene in the Five Doctors where now Turlo doesn't witness this, but the Fifth Doctor encounters Bruiser, who's set up the whole game, and Bruiser's wearing the coronet of Rassilon, and that kind of allows him to compel the Doctor to obey his will. And at the end, the other Doctors have to mind link in order to get the Fifth Doctor to break that mind control. And it almost feels in a way like that's kind of almost paralleling Turlo's own journey with the Black Guardian. So it's almost like, of having the struggle to break free. It's almost like maybe in some ways there's a kind of kindred spirit to Turlo and the Doctor, maybe.
You could definitely tell that the Doctor saw something in Turlo. Like, even when it got revealed, when I'm sure, unless I'm misremembering, that he was like, "Oh, I knew you were doing it the whole time." Like, it's not a surprise. I've sort of just kept, but he still wouldn't leave him, even though he knew this guy is trying to kill him. So you could see the Doctor saw something that Turlo didn't see in himself, almost as well, which is what I quite like about their relationship. You can see the Fifth Doctor is trying to encourage Turlo, trying to make him be a bit of a better person. Because he sees that, and Turlo's just like, no, I'm this cowardly sort of snidey figure, and the Doctor's like, no, you're more than that.
Do you think it was also the Doctor knew he was entering a trap, but he wanted the Black Guardian to show his hand? And he thought,
probably a bit of that as well. The whole adage of it was probably like keep your enemies closer. So he's like, if I keep him on side, I can just keep an eye on what actually is going on.
Yeah.
I have some really interesting facts. Turlo was, by the way, last male companion in the Terror of the Doctor in the classic era stories. Yeah. Because the Sixth Doctor had no male companions, and the Seventh also had no male companions. So,
and they probably weren't they probably both weren't around long enough to get male companions.
And also one thing, the actor Mark Strickson had dyed his hair red for the role. It was not his own. It was not his own hair we see on screen.
They didn't want his head because he was blonde like Davison, so they didn't want the two to clash. Sorry, they wanted a contrast rather. They didn't want them to look too similar.
So now we have Tika Jovenka, Edric, and Turlo, but stuck in the middle with him was Nissa.
Yeah, the last survivor of Traken.
So she had to stand as a voice of reason in all things. So she was close to the Doctor, I think, most of all the companions in some way.
Well, she lost her father to the Master in Keeper Traken, so I think in a way the Doctor became her father figure.
Yeah, more his consciousness.
I think he sort of became protector, didn't he, if anything else? He took on that role, because you could see he was very sort of with Tegan, if she got in trouble or he'd let her wander off a bit more. With Nissa, he was a lot more wanting to keep an eye on her and sort of know where she was.
Yeah.
There are moments in Terminus where I think almost Nissa has to kind of almost has to kind of prompt the Doctor to be a bit more kind of she almost kind of becomes the mediator between him and Tegan, because I think the Doctor's ever go to, why have you followed us? And to Doctor, say you're pleased to see Tegan. I'm pleased to see her, but she shouldn't have followed us, kind of thing. She's almost kind of, she's trying to almost prompt him with the etiquette of,
She was she sort of became the reasonable middle ground, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is also a scientist, and she's the one of. She becomes the last of her kind. We see that, and by the way, she's also a companion of Fourth Doctor.
Very briefly at the end.
Yeah, very briefly with the last story of.
We first meet in Keeper Track, and then in Logopolis, the Watcher brings her to the Doctor, and she finds herself. So she's not on Track when Traken's destroyed by the entropy that the Master releases.
Yeah.
So basically, she loses. The Doctor's all she has after that. It's like she's lost her world. She's lost everything. I had a fifth Dr. TARDIS play tent with a blow up light on top. Fly around the garden in it and make my friends pretend to be Turlo, Tegan, and Issa. I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
We forgot Turlo. What he was in the ending. What he is leaving the Doctor and the reason.
Turlo. They land on.
They land on his home planet, and then he.
They arrive
on. Chosen.
Yeah, he finds other people of his race on Sar. And he basically becomes like they have to get rescued from the planet because Sarn's basically this planet with a kind of a brewing volcano. So if they don't evacuate the planet, they're all going to die. So they have to call to Tryon to get rescued. And Turlo learns that since he's been gone, I think there's been some general amnesty or a power change has happened, which means he can now return. He's like his exile is lifted. He can return to his home planet and be
yes, that's right.
Part of home. I think he even believes that one of the people on Sam might be his brother.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the people there is his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was. It was that I forgot. He was a sort of fugitive because he was exiled from his planet, punishment.
Yeah,
that's the reason why he was not on his planet because he was fugitive or.
He was on the run. He was sort of.
He's on the run.
Isolated.
Yes, isolated, and he didn't want that people would find him off his planet. That's the reason why he's on Earth. Yeah, and he's established. He's restored, and he's allowed to go back to his planet at the end. That's the story.
See, we haven't talked about Tegan's exit as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because hers is quite dramatic, I would say. The story she goes out in.
There was one thing. The people on the first time I saw the story, I thought Tegan is now gone, but she came back.
Oh, you're thinking
she had some regrets, or she wanted.
I'm talking about a final exit, considering what story it is.
Oh yeah.
Resurrection of the Daleks.
Yeah, it's sort of Doctor Who at its most. I'd say at that point. Yeah, so it's her exit is a bit. Because I spoke about this recently, it's a bit bittersweet, if I were to use a word. Like she's not angry at the Doctor. She's seen so much destruction, especially that day. It's like I just can't do it anymore.
She's defeated, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, really traumatized by everything. All the things happened. Edric and some people. So many people died that she's really shocked and don't want to travel with him anymore.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
it's just the sheer destruction and the
Yeah.
sort of, and also like it's not. I think she's also a bit shocked by what the Doctor's willing to do in that story.
Mhm.
Like when he basically says, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill Davros," you can see in her she's like, "This isn't you. Like, why are you being like this?"
Yeah.
And it's
So,
that sort of theme of he's been pushed so much.
yeah.
And he's like,
Well-
"No, I don't want to do this, but I have to."
Do you think it's that she's been surrounded by so many, like, because she's basically under the captivity of these Dalek replicants, and they're really cruel and heartless, and she's how heartless they are. Do you think maybe in the end she maybe is beginning to wonder if the Doctor's not the heartfelt presence he used to be as well? She almost feels like he's becoming, well, maybe not so much he's becoming like them, but she doesn't feel the warmth in it. This is a turn, and it means she doesn't quite feel the warmth in him she used to, and that's kind of
I don't know because like a lot of things, I feel like it wasn't quite developed enough
yeah.
in this era. But I don't know. I think it's a bit of she's shocked that the Doctor's using violence, and then I think she's even more shocked that he's willing to do it in cold blood, even though Davros has done a lot of harm. It still is sort of killing somebody as like an execution, and she's just very shocked that the Doctor. I think it's a bit of shock. I don't know if she's seen the Doctor like them because throughout that story he was trying at the beginning to not have to resort to violence.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I think it's just that moment when she's like, if you're willing to even once sort of go against your own morals, I don't know exactly if you'll do it again.
Well, did he kind of explain it to her that it's a trade-off of like if Davros lives, he helps the Daleks become a more powerful threat, and millions of worlds are going to suffer, millions of people are going to suffer and die. I think the turning point is actually after he's released the gas on the Daleks, and they're kind of, and they're not just kind of dying quickly; they're dying slowly, and it's like it's even though these are kind of these are Daleks, she just says to him that was horrible. It's like it's just even seeing the enemy die on top of seeing all their friends die it's become too much for her.
Yeah, because she just like the line is it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's not angry at the Doctor. I really don't believe that. I think it's just. I think a lot of companions do it, but with her it's just a bit more stark, where it's like the fun and adventures are there, but there's also a really harsh reality to travelling with the Doctor.
Do you think maybe she also was aware maybe this was taking a toll on her mental?
Probably, yeah.
Do you think maybe so? One more death and I might just break down?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. Like I said, it was once again it was just the era where they had the beginning of something or a good beat.
Yeah.
But there were so many other things going on in the story, it sort of got lost.
Yeah.
So some things that was actually there were some there was some ideas to go further with it, but they lifted.
Well, that's the thing. They could have had a story where the Doctor meets her later, like and have that addressed. Have she can talk about the horror of what she went, the horror of those adventures, and how she's had to try to forget that and put it behind her, or something. Or and maybe through talking to her, and she kind of said, "But there were fun times as well, and I want to remember those fun times as well." Maybe you could have done something like that. I feel if you'd done a Doctor companion reunion back then. Maybe.
Yeah, or you could have maybe done it the other way, where she's older and she actually understands where the Doctor was coming from, but obviously back then she couldn't. But now she's like something's happened in her life, or she's had to have a difficult choice, and she sort of is like, I still don't condemn what you did, but I sort of understand it a bit more now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some tragic during the Fifth Doctor time with Edric and also with Tegan.
Yeah.
But Turlough's ending is more of he still wants to travel with the Doctor, but he knows that he has a purpose on his own home planet, so they say goodbye. It's just more less tragic. And also Nissa in the end.
Well, I think with Tilda was a sense of my demons have been kind of reckoned with now. I can leave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not running away anymore. Almost.
Oh, I have a thing. Kip says I had a Fifth Doctor TARDIS play tent with a blow-up light on top. I would fly around the garden in it and make my friends pretend to be Turlough, Tegan, and Nissa. I was only 8. Yeah, so one of the things you all have a Doctor. Your first meeting with Doctor Who, and that's I think that there's always one Doctor who's special for you. For every fan there's one favorite, and for the one the one is what you really enjoy and most enjoy of all. We all have our memories that we are playing the Doctor or playing some companion or not.
Dare I ask about Tegan's return recently?
Mm-hmm.
I actually preferred her in the special. Like I'll say this, I really dislike her in classic, and I was dreading watching her again. Not gonna lie, but I actually found her better. Like
to me, she seemed more mean-spirited than usual. Like when she first meets the Doctor, I was like, she was very nasty. I thought that's nasty even for Tegan.
I think what it was for me, maybe I just saw Janet was better acting.
Yeah.
Compared to what she was doing in classic. But because I thought she'd be more moaning. That's what it was. I thought, God, she's going to be like constant like she was, but she had little moments of a little bit of like brevity and calming down.
Yeah, that's right.
Which sort of worked for me. I was like, okay, I can sort of deal with you better in this episode.
And in that special, there was happening a lot in the same time. But what Tegan's role was, she was destroying the Cyberman converter. He was creating the unit HQ and destroy the Cybermen before they convert Kate. That was her main role.
Yeah, because she
rescued Kate.
Yeah, that was her only role. Let's be fair. Like Sophie had a lot more to do. Ace had a lot more in the script. Tegan was sort of
backpack.
She was there to sort of, like I said, save Kate and to have that moment with Davidson, which I've got to be honest, I didn't quite get why she was angry.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was one moment writing. I was like, okay, I understand Ace's issue a little bit. I don't understand yours. You walked away of your own accord. Yeah. So why would the Doctor talk to you or keep in contact? Because she was sort of doing, wasn't she? Oh, you left me, stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you walked away.
A little bit dramatic.
Like it's sort of your doing, all of it. So why are you giving him lip?
Oh, by the way, it was really funny that Ace was calling the Doctor still Professor. But
she was always going to, though, wasn't she?
Yeah. And we are Ace. Yeah, but back to Nessa still.
Yeah.
Nessa was I think most close to the Doctor. The Fifth Doctor, and she was in the end. She was also always in the end also good say goodbye because she was helping people with there was some disease.
It was Lazarus
yeah.
disease. They
Lazarus
landed on.
disease.
They
They
landed
cleared-
on. They landed on Terminus, which was actually this this dumping ground for people with the Lazarus plague,
Mhm.
and they were basically just left there, like weren't really there to be, like ostensibly they were there to be cured, but like they were treated as kind of no hopers and just look, if you've got the plague, then we want to keep you away from, like, it was brutal, it was cruel, and basically they were just treated like kind of battery hens. And Nissa contracts the plague while she's there, so she receives the treatment and she's cured, and she figures out that they've been doing the treatment wrong, and she stays behind to help them. And she says, "Look, I want to try and help the people of this godforsaken place." I mean, I did feel like the Doctor wasn't really on the ball here. It's like, well, she kind of had to do a lot of this venturing by herself, and it's like, where's the Doctor? Was he? You'd expect the Doctor to kind of be looking out for her, and he just kind of. But I don't know. It was that struck me as odd. But like, obviously, he finds her in the end, and they have their goodbye. And Nissa's very tearful about it. Like, she's adamant she's got to stay, but she's sad that she has to say goodbye to Tegan and the Doctor.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is. Oh, who was the actress who was Nissa?
Sarah Sutton.
Like, and Peter has spoke about this obviously in Big Finish interviews and stuff. Like, he really gets on with her. You could tell, like, they genuinely are really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of that just came across in the performance.
Yeah.
That sort of, like you said, that softer edge he had with her a little bit, that slightly more sort of favourite. You could tell out of the three of them, like, he much preferred Nissa. Like, I think if that era didn't have so many companions, she probably, I've always thought this, was going to be like the stereotypical companion for the Fifth Doctor.
Yeah.
And like, I think actually that would have worked quite well to have like just Nissa and him for like 1 or 2 series.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Big Finish have done it, haven't they? They discovered, they've expanded that dynamic because they did a lot of adventures between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity, where it's just the Doctor and Nissa.
Mm.
Yeah. I kind of really like the way they grew together in those audios.
Yeah. Also more about the personality of Nissa.
Oh, can I just say,
yeah.
we talked about Nissa being sometimes the mediator. There's a line in Earthshock when the Doctor and Adric are bickering, and Adric says something silly about the Doctor being, having gotten immature since his regeneration, and the Doctor just storms out like that was kind of the last blow for him. And Nissa says, "Oh dear, it's all getting a bit silly now." I must say, I've used that line several times when I've seen.
You have.
Yeah.
So Nissa was pleasant, friendly, and selfless.
Yeah.
And also, the Fifth Doctor described her as terribly nice. She had a sort of caring character for the Doctor.
She was a bit uptight, though, wasn't she?
Yeah. But you can see that also.
You could tell though that was because of her upbringing.
Yeah.
Like, she was, and I think the Doctor almost wanted to break her out of that a bit.
Yeah.
She was very gentle, gentleness. But but the Doctor, the Doctor was jealous in Nissa more to use when necessary, use some action, because she was so gentle that in some cases it was necessary to use some action.
You do see that when the Doctor's threatened, she will pick up a gun and use it. Like in Earthshock, she goes for the gun. In Arc of Infinity, when the Doctor's about to be sentenced to death, she picks up the stage. She starts just gunning down guards, and the Doctor saying, "Look, this isn't going to help. You just put the gun down." It's like
which story is that?
Arc of Infinity. Now that was written. Now that was written by Johnny Byrne, who also wrote Keeper of Traken, and he said he had in mind Nyssa like values the Doctor because of all she's lost, and she's very protective of him. She's very quick to. That's when the aggression in her comes out.
That's right.
You know,
only when necessary she's using some.
But yeah, it's kind of it's an emotional reaction. It comes out of her. That's
out of a caring spirit, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I think she's just like you sort of talked about. She very much wears her heart on her sleeve, doesn't she? Type of character.
Yeah.
We can also see that she is. Who said that? I think Charlotte, you said that about that Tegan and Nyssa were friends.
Yeah, I think they both appreciated sort of being the two females on the team, and Tegan liked Nyssa's softer edge, and Nyssa found Tegan interesting at times to be that abrasive because she hadn't really come across a personality type like Tegan.
Can you say that they can understand each other and they are really care for each other because they understand some things about her, or?
Yeah, I think naturally being on the adventures, they just built a friendship, like protecting in the danger. But I think they both really valued having that sort of female presence in each other.
Yeah.
Because obviously you had the Doctor, who's even Davidson, who was a bit softer. He was very definitely male and energy. Yeah. You had Adric, who was the boy. He was just like a child. And then you had Turlo, who was very different.
Yeah. When I think about it, I said it earlier on. What Doctor Who makes interesting, and what I like about Doctor Who is the chemistry between the Doctor and the companions, and that they make each other better. That the companions make the Doctor better, and the Doctor makes the companions better. But I also see in by the Fifth Doctor that the companions make each other also better.
Mm-hmm.
I think, because you can see that also with Tegan and Nyssa, for example, they made each other better in some ways. They know how they feel. They help each other, and that's why I said earlier in the stream. And this is really a team. Is a good example for how good a team can work, and that he can have more companions with a Doctor as you have this chemistry.
I think they just needed to get the mixture of it right. Because sometimes certain characters or companions would overpower the others. Yeah. And I think Davidson, even though I quite like his Doctor, I think at the beginning he was suffering a little bit from having so many big personalities around him.
Yeah.
So I think once they sort of got in their stride a bit more, it worked. But it was just getting into that stride, which was a bit hard.
Was he? I don't think he was an established actor at that moment, or.
I think he was just starting, wasn't he? So Doctor, you'd say at that time to be known as a name, Davidson.
He'd been in All Creatures Great and Small. That was kind of his big. No, he was also in quite a few comedies. He was concurrently doing Sink or Swim, this comedy series at the same time. So I think he had he was more well known than Tom, if you know what I mean. Like before Tom started, obviously. So I feel like he was a name before he became the Doctor, whereas Tom maybe wasn't so much a name until he became the Doctor. But with Davison was kind of more. He was a name before he became the Doctor, maybe.
Was he known as a leading man though, or was he known as more sitcom, sort of being a part of a big cast?
I think maybe it was more. You might be right. He was more ensemble, part of ensemble roles. I mean, I think All Creatures Great and Small. It's kind of. I get the sense that was about. I need to watch the show actually, but it was about the community that he was kind of a part of. I mean, maybe he was the protagonist in the sense he was the one who entered the community and got to know everyone. But it was it was a kind of it was. I suppose you could say it was like a soap, maybe.
I'm just thinking like Doctor Who is very different because when you're the Doctor, isn't it? You're the lead, like lots of different pressures on you.
Yeah. Especially whenever a script is like, say what?
or you got a producer like he had.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I think I do get the sense maybe say what wasn't so fond of the Doctor and he kind of preferred mercenaries. But
I think he didn't like what they were trying to do with Davidson. I've always got the impression.
Yeah.
That sort of gentle presence. He could be commanding, but that wasn't his natural way to be.
No.
Which, like I said, but then, like I said, when you've got Tegan, who's very loud, when you've got Nyssa, who's a bit quieter, and that, honestly, that's why I think almost he liked Nyssa a bit more.
Yeah.
Because he didn't feel so overpowered by her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was more challenged by the others than by her.
I mean, I know Janet Fielding has said herself that she felt the companion was always just there for decorative reasons. She felt she wanted Tegan to be a bit more feisty. So maybe that was kind of what I meant when it felt like they just gave her this trait.
Mm.
And it kind of became a dominant trait, maybe. Whereas this was kind of more just I mean, she was kind of more like, I'd say, Victoria, or companions of old.
Yeah, sort of out of place, having to find something again, sort of character.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good similar thing, I think. Because Victoria is also searching for some place to stay or finding herself again.
Yeah.
So there's some comparison.
Yeah, they kind of the father-daughter dynamic kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. There's other things about Nyssa because I don't. At the moment.
She does get to show a bit of mischief in Black Orchid when she meets Anne Chaplet, wasn't it? No, not Anne Chaplet. It was Anne. What was her name? She basically in Black Orchid she meets this kind of really kind of rich family, and they have a daughter who looks just like Nyssa. Basically,
yes. Oh yes.
And it's basically so when they have this fancy dress party, the Nyssa and Anne conspire together to both wear the same dress and both cover the fact that, because I think Anne's telltale is there's a mole on her elbow or something, on her upper elbow rather, on her shoulder blade, and so she says, "Well, I'll wear the dress so that's covered up, so no one knows which of us is which." So, and I think this is having fun, kind of confusing everyone to figure out which one's which.
Yes, right.
Oh yeah, it's Anne Cranley. Let's see, Anne Cranley, I believe, was it? Oh no, Anne Talbot. It's Anne Talbot. I looked it up. It was Anne Talbot. That's the name.
Okay. There's one. I think one that I was interesting is the character of Comedian.
Oh yes, I forgot about him.
Yeah, because I think that is also a companion of the Doctor. The King's Demons.
It was an attempt, wasn't it? It was an attempt at a companion.
Yeah. It was not seen in every story, but he was from. They met him on the 13th century Earth with King John, and then the Master was controlling him, I think. in the beginning. Then the doctor took comedian with him.
Yeah, and then forgot about him for a season.
Yeah.
Just kind of left him in the cupboard.
Let him in a cupboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now there's not so much to talk about, but I think
Well,
that's
wasn't the story that like the fella who designed him, like
Yeah.
something happened to him, or they lost the design, so they just couldn't use it after the initial episode.
I think so. Yeah, there is this legend called the Curse of Chameleon, where I think several people connected with the robot died.
Yeah, like somebody died, or like the designer, something happened, so they were like, "We've got this really lovely looking thing, but we don't know how to use it."
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Like K9's easy, you just push it, or you just die. Like a whole robot as a person's a bit different to a dog.
Yeah.
Because to me, I don't know how you two felt. It's obvious that that's what they were trying to do, but different.
I think the way I read it, I think it was just that John Nathan Turner knew someone who had a prototype robot that hadn't really taken off. So he said, "Well, look, I don't know what to do with this." And John thought, "Well, we can put it into the show then. Like we've got it's designed to be it's basically we got this for free and we can put it into the show, but it obviously didn't quite work." I think it was just a case of I think John thought he got lucky with it, and obviously didn't quite happen. There isn't much to say about the character, I suppose. Just he just basically for much of it, he's just the master's pawn, and it's in the end the Doctor has to destroy Chameleon, and I think he's quite sad about it. And I think, but Chameleon's like just end this. Like,
Oh, that is what I wanted to say. But we had discussed earlier about that some things are not. There were more things you could have. What were the development of the characters of the companions. We talked earlier about that there are some things they're still not really.
I think they had a lot of companions to develop at once, and it was kind of.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is that I think if Davison had he had 3 seasons, right? That he did.
Yeah.
3 series, yeah.
Yeah, I think that if he did 2 more seasons, then things will have. That I think it was too short for my feeling.
But he spoke about that. He spoke about that in the last so many years and has regrets it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
because
because you said about companions not very worked out well, or what do we say?
I sort of said like in this era, there's the start of an idea or there's a bit of an idea, but it's just not developed enough.
Yes, that's right. And I think if you have 2 more seasons, I think it was worked well.
Well, if you got the companions to stick around,
or there were so many ideas, I think they could use it for 2 or even 3 more seasons. All the ideas, but it's a pity that they would work out and more with comedian and more with other companions for Turlo, or because it worked very well, I think.
I just think I've always felt like maybe having 2 at most to begin with would have worked better for this era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then gradually add on or have one of them leave after a bit and then have the new person come.
Yeah, I think it was a very dramatic era, I think, because there happened so drastic things or so drastic.
Yeah, I do think some of that was John, like, because he was kind of he always had an eye on what would get the tabloids talking about the show, and for him it was always companion arrivals, companion departures. So he'd probably kind of think, well, we need the story, so Nissa's departure is going to be Terminus, so that'll get the tabloids talking. And Turlo, let's have him be this villain companion. That'll get the tabloids talking. And so it was kind of a lot of that was about trying to manipulate the media a bit, maybe give them a lot more to talk about the show with, maybe.
Yeah, sort of use shock tactics, I think is the term, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
No, but like I said, I do think it would have been interesting just in general if Davidson would have literally just done one more series.
Yeah.
Because I think his Doctor also would have had a bit more time with the companions to mature a bit and sort of settle a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, because Davidson has said the way it worked, I think it was during his second series, they were like, do you want to do one more or do more than one? And because he really wasn't liking the scripts, he said, no, I want to do just one more series. And then his last series, he got some really good scripts. So then he was really regretted saying earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I want to finish after 3 series.
Yeah, because there were some ideas, but yeah.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure he said in interviews he wasn't told you're gone after 3. They came to him and were like, if you want to do more, you can do more. It's up to you. And he was just, and I think he's also said, was it Troughton? He chatted to at the time. He was like, yeah, do 3 series and then go. So he had that in his head.
Okay.
And he didn't like the scripts. So he was like, but then he regretted years after the fact that he didn't at least stick around for 4 or even at a push 5.
I think the only thing he said was that he wasn't so keen on the idea of the American companion Perry, and he said if he'd stayed, he would have had a problem with that. I don't know why. Maybe just he felt that was. I don't know why, but he had a dislike of that, maybe. But he
could be.
What I mean is that wasn't that was the only reservation he'd have about doing a 4th. He said.
Yeah, because Peter's done quite a bit of interviews, so maybe I'm merging stuff. But like I said, I know Troughton was a big reason why he did 3.
Yeah. See, no, I don't mean Perry was the reason he decided to leave after 3. I think it was kind of he was thinking, well, maybe actually I'm liking this, but he said the only thing I didn't like about the 3rd was Perry. But other than that, I really liked the 3rd, and I was almost persuaded. I almost wish I'd done a 4th now. Yeah.
Okay. But Perry is a companion we will discuss with the 6th Doctor, I think.
Okay. There's one more we could talk about the Brigadier. He comes back this season, this era. We meet the Brigadier again.
Yeah. Interesting. Every incarnation of the Doctor has some relation with the Doctor, one way or another. We have one interesting story in the Fifth Doctor, I remember, and he is then in some paradox, because he meets an earlier Brigadier.
Yeah, he meets 2 Brigadiers.
What's called the story? Time.
It's called Modern Undead. Was the story?
Modern Undead. Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's again, it's Cello's first story, but it's the Brigadier is the he's become the head school teacher at the one of the leading school teachers at the boarding school that Turlo's at, and he's there are 2. It deals in 2 times. The Doctor flips back and forth between 2 time zones. One's 1978, and the other's 1983.
Yeah.
Now, in 1978, the Brigadier's he remembers the Doctor. He meets Tegan, and he hasn't come to know Turlo yet. Now, the older Brigadier is suffering from amnesia about the Doctor. So when he first meets the Doctor, he doesn't recognize him at all. That part of his life has been it's gone, and it's even hinted he's had a nervous breakdown since then. And so there's kind of there's a point where the Doctor's kind of trying to help almost nurse the Brigadier's memories back, and he gradually does. But they have that tea together, and the Brigadier remembers. And it turns out at the end of the episode, the reason why the Brigadier forgot was because both the Brigadiers met, and when they met, they touched, and the effect of the touch was that it caused a wave of, what was it, temporal energy, and it caused the younger Brigadier to collapse and forget everything.
Yeah. I think that the combination of the Fifth Doctor and the Brigadier was a very friendly one comparison to the Fourth Doctor. Fourth Doctor was more above, was not so fond of Unit, I think. Can you say that?
There's a particular line in Terror of the Zygons where the Doctor's being held hostage by the Zygons in the ship underwater, and the unit are depth charging the ship, so the ship's getting bombarded with shells, and the Doctor goes, "Sounds like the Brigadier."
I think also it's nice. I love the Briggs reaction when he sees the Fifth, because you could see he's just like, could you get any younger? Like, you just see he sort of doesn't quite believe it's the Doctor at first.
No.
And then as soon as he talks for a couple of minutes, he's like, "Oh no, you've just changed again," and it's sort of a fun little reaction.
Yeah. There are other stories. I must think with the Brigadier.
I think it's only one, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this era.
It's Modern Undead and the Five Doctors. He's in it, but like he's
Five Doctors.
Yeah.
Special.
And now on that one, he does remember the Doctor, and but he's mainly with the Second Doctor in that.
Yeah, they didn't really have the companions mixing, did they?
No, not until
in that story a lot.
Yeah. But I did notice, like he remembers Tegan as well. When they meet in the Death Zone, and sorry, in Rassilon's tomb, like Brigadier meets Sarah and Tegan there. So it's like so I was watching that. I watched that before I'd seen Modern Undead when I was young, and I thought, okay, well, obviously the Brigadier would recognize Sarah. It's like, oh, he recognizes Tegan as well. They must have met at some point. Of course, they had.
Back when scripts actually paid attention to what happened before.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
So, yeah, and then the last we have the last campaign of this Fifth Doctor is Perry Brown, but we'll discuss that later because the Sixth Doctor has not so many companions. We will discuss her by the Sixth Doctor, but what we all can discuss is that the combination of the two, because we see that the Doctor is sacrificing himself for her.
Yeah, there's I think the telling moment in Cage of Androzani is, for me, it's this beautiful moment of contrast, because there's a scene where, like the gunrunners, there's Morgus, who basically is their kind of shady capitalist employer, like he's the big boss. And you got Stotts, who's he's a really nasty leader of the gunrunners. He's like a nasty piece of work. And you got Krepler and one of his aides, and like now they've been, for the whole of the story, they've been doing this kind of, they've been trying to brave the defend basically Jack's fort for they've been supplying arms to Jack, the rebel, and with the promise that, because Jack basically holds the entire stock of this material called Spectrox, this particular substance that basically prolongs life. It holds back aging, human aging. And now, so the gunrunners are just saying, well, we could cooperate and keep getting paid by Jack, or we could take over his whole stock and by force and have all the Spectrox we want. Now, so this is kind of the goal during the story, but toward the end, the planet is, the mud bursts are getting kind of getting more ferocious, and Jack's basically doubled up his android army to protect the substance. So it's like, we're not taking the risk. And he says, look, we're not going to risk it, not for 2 million kilos of spectrops. We're not going. And at the same time as they're saying that, the Doctor is braving all that, not for the spectrops, but for Perry's life, to save Perry's life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a lovely contrast of, how the Doctor values human life over, anything that the criminals value.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why people love the caves is because of what the Doctor does. It's because he's only just met Perry. Like there's no familial bond yet. He's just met her, but he's willing to die for her, and that just says so much about the character. And sort of what just any life, like you said, just any life is so valuable to him.
I mean, I have known some people say because there are some fans who say, because there were some audios with Perry as well, and there are some fans that say, I don't want to really include those audios in the canon for me, because I feel like those audios detract from that, because for me the point is that the Doctor saved the life of someone he barely knew, and in those audios she becomes more of a well-known companion to her, and they'll say, well, that takes away the point of caves for me, so that kind of thing.
No, I know a few people like that as well, who are very I they like the Fifth Doctor audios, but they don't like the Perry stuff because of that reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more they don't like to consider them canon.
Well, I was thinking about next time about the Sixth Doctor, because he has not so many companions.
Should we?
It just means shorter stream.
Shorter stream, I think. Yes, that's right. Because he had in audio adventures, I know that he has more companions than on screen.
He does, yeah. We could.
I'm not so familiar with the Sixth Doctor audio, and I don't know not much knowledge about it.
I've heard some of them. One of the favorite companions in the audios was this old professor,
lecturer, I think.
Yeah, called Evelyn Smythe.
Yes, I can remember now one. I heard in the past. I heard some stories. There was one woman was a lecturer or something.
Yeah, history, I believe.
But what's her name?
Evelyn Smythe.
Oh, Evelyn Smythe. Oh yeah, no. Yeah.
There's a Dalek story. There's a Dalek story called Jubilee, where there's a Dalek who addresses Evelyn Smythe.
Yeah. But we can also discuss the Rani next time, and Rani.
The Rani.
She's not a companion, but the interesting to discuss about for next time.
Okay.
Yeah, we might just talk about a few other characters as well.
Yes, because and was now Mel.
Oh yeah, Mel was.
Oh yeah, Mel is also, but yeah. Again, is that also Seventh Doctor? Also, not so many companions, because he had all Mel, but then Ace, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, okay, there will be shorter streams then in the next in the coming weeks, but it's not so. It's good.
So
yeah.
So who we pick for favorite companion of this era?
For me, it's a toss-up between Nyssa and Turlo.
Yes, I go Nyssa. Mainly because of the audios, though, because I feel like that's where we really kind of discovered the good team they could be.
See, I struggle to pick between the two. I said, I really do.
So we have to do something quite underhand to beat Nyssa.
That's the thing. They're so opposite. That's what I like. Like, Nissa's the nice, the sort of calm, sort of emotional center. Turlo's the tricky one. Turlo's the slightly you don't quite know what he's going to do one, which is interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think a different choice. I think Tegan for me.
Wow.
Because more of the firework between them.
She's probably Marmite, isn't she? Like either love
Yeah.
The most emotional
Marmite.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think who wins then? I think it's.
I don't think anybody wins. We all pick different ones.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the reasons that's so strong about this Doctor and the companions.
Actually,
about this team. Yeah.
Enigmatic joke. Do you have a favorite Tegan story? Would you say?
The stories about snakes. About there are two stories. The Mara.
Yeah, it's Kinder and Snake Dance.
Yeah, that's the two stories with Tegan in it. It has a special role in the stories.
Yeah,
because she's possessed by some Mara or.
Yeah, it's this kind of telepathic being called the Mara. It's kind of so she kind of enters this deep state, and somehow it's this ritual among the Kinder where they have this this kind of musical kind of this kind of collection of chimes where people kind of go to rest and meditate together, and Tegan ends up meditating by herself, and the Kinder are like, you don't do that, you don't meditate alone in that area, because that's how the Mara, this telepathic being, can find its way into your mind and basically start to possess and control you. And that's what happens to Tegan, and she kind of becomes the Mara's puppet.
Yeah.
And she has a relapse in Snake Dance, where she becomes the Mara's puppet again, and there has to be a final reckoning there.
So what's your favourite Sudoku story for your companion?
Nissa, I think it's probably I really like the audios. I quite like her in Creatures of Beauty and in Plague of the Daleks. Those are two of my favourite audios, and I kind of Nissa. I really felt kind of a strong connection with her and them. On TV, I suppose my favourite of her time would be Earthshock. Best showing of it probably is Keeper of Traken. I think that's where she kind of comes across really strongly. My favourite Davison story is probably Enlightenment, but that's more of a Tegan and Turlo story.
Oh yeah, Enlightenment.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Probably me for Nissa. Audios is definitely Spare Parts, because of just how it explores really the trauma stuff with the Cybermen, and like she really is fighting to try and save some of them, and the Doctor's like, no, you can't do that. So that's always fun to play with. But they really both, Davidson and I forgot the actress's name again. Like they both, Sarah really give a brilliant performance. TV, I quite like her actually in the Arc of Infinity, because like you said, you see that slightly more sort of brave version of her, the one that's a bit more prone to do stuff, which is fun to see.
Yeah.
Turlo, I'm struggling for an audio, but I have listened to a few with him. But TV, I quite like him, even though I don't like the story, but I like him actually in Warriors. I like him in that, but the overall story is not a favourite, but I like him and what his sort of role is in Warriors of the Deep.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah. But I didn't say the story was good overall.
I know.
I like Turlo in that.
Yeah. So, we talked about all the companions of this Doctor. It was nice to see again. It was nice to see the Fifth Doctor in the last special with the Tegan. Some good reference to the past. Yeah.
Charlotte, me and Joker did a stream on the special. What was your verdict on it?
It was a mess. Like, it was so many things going on at once. Characters just randomly appearing, like Graham just being in a volcano because he needed to be. Like poor Dan just being told 5 minutes in, "Oh, you're gone now," for most of the story. But like I said, I like bits of it. Like in isolation, if I could take those bits out, I'd be happy. Like anything with the classic Doctors was really good. I like the Ace stuff.
Yeah.
I even like the Master more because he finally calmed down and he finally just stopped cackling like a cartoon. And I was like, I knew Sasha could act really well. I was just frustrated with how he was being told to act.
Yeah.
But like I said, the overall story was just a mess.
I think it was a master story.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I couldn't help but find funny. It's like it's Jodie's Doctor's farewell, it's her send off, and she's the least interesting part of the story. Like everybody else was so much more going on. She was almost like pushed to the side of her own regeneration story. Like they even took her out of it for like 10 minutes when the Master regenerated into her body or whatever was going on. So I did find that a bit odd because people know I have no love for her Doctor, but I was a bit like, it is her final story. Maybe she should be a bit more central in this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like an absolute mess with bits in isolation I liked. If I were to do like a summary of what I felt of the special.
Will we see Sasha the One again in next series?
I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if like he comes back for like a special or like a like. Do you know sometimes we get like multi-masters, don't we, in a story, or we get more than one version pop up? I can see Russell wanting to do something with him, but I think he will want his own master.
Mm-hmm.
He will want his own actor he's picked. Because I think we're getting the Master in the 60th in some version, in some way.
Hello?
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have frozen.
Oh, am I working now?
I need to refresh this, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're going to get a Master in the 60th.
Yeah.
I just think Russell's going to cast his own Master.
And will we see other incarnations of the Doctor in the 60th, do you think?
I hope. There's a certain one I would love to see.
Oh, double. I see double now. Enter stream.
Sorry,
double.
You see that goes now. Or...
There we go. Now there's one.
Your twin. Or was it the regeneration of Sadeko?
I couldn't help but find that funny. You literally, when that was happening, was like, are we going to see more than one Doctor? More than one Sadako?
One's bad enough, I think.
Yeah. Oh no, I would love it if Matt appeared. Everybody knows me that I would be an absolute child, like in a sweet shop.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that Matt Smith also will come. We'll see him.
Because I think also he's the most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Because Peter said multiple times he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame him.
But I think Matt Smith is a good possibility.
Yeah, I
He's
think
open for it.
Yeah, I think he's the most open for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's the more, and he's hardly aged. I know he's a bit grey now in his hair, but he still looks in the face really the same.
House of Dragon. He plays.
Yes, but that's the only thing, he's busy at the moment. So
yeah.
But they've already filmed
the season was the first season is already finished, I think.
I was gonna say they've already done the filming though for the 60th, so he could have fit it in possibly.
Yeah.
Just like I said, I'm not gonna lie. Like if that announcement happens, I'm going to be screaming. I'm going to be like ridiculous.
I want to hear that scream.
But then you never know. Russell could just keep it secret. Yeah. He might not even announce any more doctors.
No. I think many fans will scream when Matt Smith appears.
Yeah, if he appears.
Yeah. I also will scream. Yeah, I really like him back for a while. But I think the specials are 3 specials, and next year 3.
Yeah, I think, and then Shooty is getting a Christmas one by the looks of it.
And that's the first one, or is that another special then, or?
Yeah, I think it's 3 for the 60th, and then once the 60th's done, Shooty is going to get one in the festive period. I think they've said so. I think they're trying to say Christmas without saying Christmas.
Okay, then there will be in total 4 specials in 2023.
I think so, but we'll see.
Oh, but that will be very nice that we have that. And then have in November you have then 3 specials, and then a month later you have festive special with the Shooty.
Yeah, because Russell was the one who introduced the idea of Christmas specials, so I'd be very surprised if he's not trying to fight to get that slot back.
We wanted that Christmas special back, yes. Because Christmas you always you have a good time with family, but you always want to see some Doctor Who. It's not it's complete with Doctor Who, the Christmas.
Well, in the UK, it definitely became a tradition.
Yeah.
And I think also it would be a really good time to launch Shooty, to sort of give him a Christmas slot, just to really get a lot of eyes on him.
So it's a little bit confirmed that it will be on Christmas. A little bit.
They I think the wording, if I'm remembering right, is they said festive period.
Okay.
For Shooties, for the 4th one, which is going to be Shooties, we think. But then he could be in the 60th. We don't know.
Okay. And will that be the start of a new series for 2024? Then?
I think so, because I think they're going to be filming. They were meant to be starting filming this month actually.
Okay.
But I think it's been slightly delayed.
Yeah.
So I guess they'd be looking for 24 for series, whatever it's called, because we don't even know what series it's going to be called. We don't know if it's going to be series 14. We don't know if they're going to go series 1 again. We don't know.
Yeah, that's right. But it will be a new series.
It'd be the new era, at least. Proper.
New era. New era. New York. Yeah. Yeah. But you have the classic era, the new era, New Who, and then you have the.
See, I'm going to call it in my head Bad Wolf era because it's easier to remember.
The Bad Wolf era. Yes, that's a good one. Bad Wolf era. Because it's Bad Wolf Productions.
Yes. And I can't call it Russell 2. That sounds daft. So I'm going to call it in my head Bad Wolf era.
RTD2.
Yeah, that just too much Star Wars for me. So I'm going to call it Bad Wolf.
Okay, we have discussed about the companions of the Fifth Doctor. I want to thank you, Sadeko and Queen Charlotte, for this time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And I want to say to all the listeners, yes, I'm looking forward to meet you. Next time we will discuss the companions of the Sixth Doctor, and we will dive into that. And for now, I want to say to you, enjoy Doctor Who, enjoy everyday life, and have a nice week.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye.